level of preparation. Hey, coordinates. Coordinates, September 7th, 2025. The morning after, literally less than about 6 or so hours, less than 12 hours away from first loss in a couple. Been some time. Right? For those of you who don't know, diehard. I'm a psychotic diehard Michigan Wolverines football fan. Coordinates, the morning after they just lost to the Oklahoma Sooners, 24-13. All right, and there's a lot of takeaways that I'm going to get into, and I'm going to dive into about maybe about an hour or so from this recording on the live stream. Just full on takeaways. Not only that game, but we're going to wrap it all up into something called Final Whistle Sunday, in which I'll be doing every Sunday, as opposed to what I used to be doing before the football season, which is previewing the following week's theme and stuff like that. Now that college football is here, I just got to address it. And as speaking from the perspective of a diehard Michigan fan who also knows the game of football, all right, this is important that I say that, because there's a lot of fans out there saying a lot of nonsense, and I'll get to it later on the live stream when I have a chance to really kind of collect my thoughts. But what I will say, just as an overview as a fan, there's a lot of good that's going to come from this loss. Mark my words. There's a lot of good that's going to come from that ass kicking that the Oklahoma Sooners just put on my Michigan Wolverines. And I say that because the tone of the Michigan fan base ever since that win from Northwestern, let me take you back a year ago, right? About a year ago, we beat Northwestern's ass. We get a commitment from Bryce Underwood. We beat Ohio State's ass. We beat Alabama's ass. And then we go and we have a little performance against New Mexico. And all off season, there's been all this talk about 4 years in a row, and we beat Ohio State, and we did this, all this shit, to the point now where the tone and the celebratory tone of the team, the celebratory tone of the program, we needed to get humbled. And again, there's a lot of good that's going to come from this loss, especially seeing how we lost. Plain and simple, we were outmatched, outplayed, outmatched, outcoached, outschemed. Everything. You saw the difference in the two offenses. In one offense who had a quarterback and an OC that's been together, that knows each other, that knows how to really put formations together and put certain plays together. Like, they really, really were in tune, versus an offense that just had absolutely nothing going for them all night. And all that being said, all that was against us, all the how overmatched we were, how out-schemed we were, all that, we still had our opportunities to win the game that we plain and simple did not take advantage of. And that is an encouraging thought, not necessarily a discouraging thought. It's actually an encouraging thought. So I'll tell you the positives. And again, we'll get into a little bit more of it later on in the live stream, but tell you the positives of it is Bryce Underwood needed to be humbled. He needed to be humbled. And that was an incredible test. There's going to be a lot of great lessons that he's going to take from last night, seeing that he went up against probably one of the best, if not the best, defensive coordinators that you could ever find that has been around. I mean, just absolutely dialing it up. The skies and coverages, the skies and blitzes was just everywhere last night. Absolutely. The defense was absolutely everywhere last night. And then again, defensively, Michigan played good enough to win the game. We'll say it like that. They didn't play their best, but they played good enough to win the game. And again, opportunities just weren't capitalized on. And again, that's just simply encouraged. When Oklahoma goes back and looks at the film, they'll realize where they missed out on some opportunities. And it seemed for the most part like two evenly matched teams. I will, again, mention to you as Michigan fans, do not be too discouraged by that loss. All right. The Ohio State Texas one was, the gameplay was kind of the same way in terms of that back and forth evenly matched game. And we'll see how good Oklahoma is when they play against Texas this year. You know, there's a lot of the talent, and the teams are not that far off. Just take some time to get things developed and get things kinked out, and get the kinks worked out and all that kind of stuff. Again, we're only in week 2. It wasn't a league game. Everything that we want is still right in front of us, but that ass kicking is something that we absolutely needed. We needed that ass kicking to humble us and say, hey, man, we ain't won shit yet. Yeah, we got Bryce Underwood. Yeah, we beat Ohio State, but we ain't won a damn thing yet. We ain't did shit in 2025 yet. So now we got to get ourselves together, get our bearings under us. You know, Sharon Moore won't be coaching in the next 2 games. Go out here, go 2-0, and, you know, really start to make a run throughout this season. All right, so again, stay tuned, like, comment, subscribe to this channel. Main website to check out to dive deeper into all my work. It's makeyourmove.com. That's YAMOVE.com. One-stop shop for your teamwork and your self-development needs. As one, Crookshank, your one and only Move Swiftly speaker. Check it out. You guys continue to move swiftly. We will talk. All right, folks, here we are. As one, Crookshank, your one and only Move Swiftly speaker. Checking in. One and it was a rough night. We'll just say it like that. You heard me react to the Michigan loss this morning, and again, as much as I hate to actually admit it, it was something that we needed. Let me just introduce myself real quick to anybody that may be new to me, new to this channel, new to what we're all about. Again, as one, Crookshank, one and only Move Swiftly speaker, former Division I college football player and current 5-time, soon-to-be 6-time published author and educator. I created this whole brand, this whole business, this whole concept that's all about taking the innovative teamwork lessons that you learned on the football field and aligning them with businesses and business owners so they have a staff and a group of employees that moves just like a championship high school or youth football team. If you are interested in that stuff, very first thing you need to do is go to freeguide.makeitmove.com. That is freeguide.makeitmove.com. Work from a very, very, very simple formula here that is establishing measurables and a professional distance and allowing that to create a productive environment. If you are like, hey, look, man, Asma, I love what you're all about. Bump all that free stuff. Let me just know who I got to pay, where I got to pay, how I got to pay it. And you're interested in our employee development workshops, you're simply going to makeitmove.com. That's MAKEYAMOVE.com. Hit the shop now button. You can get a copy of the books. You can get a copy of the books, ask about the employee development workshops, and just do whatever research needs to get done on me. Turn your business into a championship team. It is common knowledge that the best way to win in business or in life is by avoiding ways to lose. Whether you've just started a new business or you've been in business for quite some time, there's no getting around the need to hire or outsource certain elements of your organization so things can run as efficiently as possible. When you book your meeting with Aswan, he'll diagnose what the issues are with your current system and then strategically create a system in which will lead to a reduced amount of turnover and clear understanding of the parts of your business that need to be outsourced. All right, got through that. I wanted to get through that real quick because we're starting something brand new today on the channel. Make sure, again, like, comment, share, subscribe to the channel. As you see, I still got hope. It was a rough day. So the teams, college football-wise, the teams that I really feel a part of are the Michigan Wolverines because I've been a fan of them since I was a kid. And obviously, I played for Stony Brook, and they took an L yesterday. However, Florida State did win, so my teams are Michigan, number one, obviously Stony Brook because that's where I played, but I also like to see Florida State do well, and I like to see the University of Maryland do well, and I actually recorded that game, the Maryland game versus Northern Illinois, and they won, but they didn't look too great. Week 2 in college football wasn't the best week, but what I have decided to do, because I know me and I know myself and I know what this time of year is like, the very first thing that I want to do on a Sunday morning after college football games and all that is come on and react to it, as you guys just saw, right? So today I'm gonna be debuting something brand new here, which is, like you see on the screen, gonna be called Final Whistle Sunday, where I just break down all the takeaways and all the major lessons, the things that I took away from all the college football I consumed. And just so we're clear, in fact, I'll pull it up on the screen right now so you guys can see it. There were two games recorded. Can't play too much of it because this one here. There were 2 games that were recorded, and I commentated on. The first one was Friday night. Was Maryland taking on the Northern Illinois Huskies, and yesterday I recorded and commentated on the Penn State taking on FIU game. And then I went and watched the Michigan versus Oklahoma game, which was a really, really big game. All right. So again, make sure you're liking and commenting and going over and subscribing to that channel as well. So big thing, the first thing that I have to say when it comes to what we learned yesterday, before I get to the Michigan Wolverines and the Oklahoma Sooners game, we got to stop this spitting bullshit. All right, we got to stop
I don't know when it became a thing. I myself am a huge, my NFL team is actually the Washington Redskins. So I remember back when the late Sean Taylor actually spit in Michael Pittman's face, and I was like, I mean, it was a playoff game. It was one of his lowest moments of his career. He did it, and I mean, it was the first time in my life that I would even think. I mean, I played the game since I was 7 years old, and I never really even thought that somebody did that. You just do not spit in people's face. All right. So the fact that the Florida Gators were, they were losing to a team that they should have been, they were losing it, not losing, but they had an opportunity to beat USF, right? They had USF. So for those of you who are not clear on how the game went, what happened was USF, the University of Southern Florida, played Florida, and they played them in Gainesville, and Florida was up late by 2 points. I believe the score was 16-14. And USF is driving down, and they have an opportunity Florida is about to stop them. And what happens is one of the defensive linemen gets an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty for spitting directly in the face of a USF, I think, offensive tackle, offensive guard, something like that. Spits in his face. I mean, it was blatant, so bad that the guy from the Florida Gators, his teammate, held him back and said, "Come on, bro, what the fuck are you doing?" That is unnecessary. I mean, you saw it on camera, all what just spit right in the guy's face. Obviously, he gets unsportsmanlike conduct, and it pushes USF up, and they end up kicking the field goal in the last second to actually go on and win the game. See, that kind of stuff is not tolerated. It's not okay. It is not something that is okay. You cannot do that. That's something. I mean, I believe that not only should you be ejected from the game, but you should be completely kicked off your team. You should not be allowed to play because that is not tolerated. I do not know when it became a thing to spit in the face of somebody when you're playing a game. Before I get to the Michigan and Oklahoma game, and again, everything we do here, by the way, everything we do here is also a translation for you business owners to teach you the game, teach you what the reason certain teams won, the reason certain teams were successful and all that, to teach you some lessons so you can apply it to your business. And number one is you just got to show a little bit more respect. You got to show a little more restraint in that. You got to have some mental control that you would not, I mean, in any shape, form, or fashion, do you think it's okay to spit in the face of another human being? That is so degrading and wrong that the game is no place for that kind of stuff in this game. All right. I'm not going to replay it here. It was just egregious. Go look it up. It's all over the internet. Yes, the guy spits in his face. All right. Now, on to the Michigan and Oklahoma game. Let me just see if I could pull up there. Oklahoma versus Michigan. All right. So, obviously very rough to watch. Obviously a very, very rough game to watch. And the part that was so agitating about it was that as bad as Michigan was playing, as bad as we played, I mean, like you heard me just now, we could have easily gotten blown off the field. All right. We easily could have gotten blown off the field. It would have been very, very much look like a team that was just out of whack. All right, there are so many opportunities that Oklahoma gave us to come back that Oklahoma missed out on that would have turned the game into a blowout. All right. All that being said, I'm happy the fact that we got humbled the way we got humbled. All right. And I meant what I said when I said it is a lot of good that's going to come from the fact that we got humbled that way, because if you go back a year ago, and this is why, if you can recall when Bryce Underwood actually made the commitment, and everybody in Michigan, in fact, I might be able to pull up that video. I might. So let me see if I can find it. I think I might have it. It might be. Hold on, let me see if I can find it real quick. One second, let me see if I can find it. But basically, I I caution folks not to get too excited about Bryce Underwood, because the game is. Oh, no. No. Yeah, I put so many videos of. Anyway, long story short, we'll get it later. But anyway, basically what I said is I came on here on this very channel, and I was excited that Bryce Underwood flipped his commitment from LSU to Michigan. However, at the same time, I was being very cautious about the fact of getting too excited about a high school freshman. All right, what we saw with what I saw, and again, if you're not a person, if you're a business owner that is not someone that's in the sports, I'll translate it for you. That's my job to translate for you what actually happened. What we saw with two teams, two programs, two organizations that for the most part had a similar level of talent. However, one team had just more flexibility. Right? One was out-coached. Oklahoma was able to go from 5 wide to I formation to two tight ends in to just making it so they just could use the quarterback as a draw. You could see the cohesion. You could see the way that the John Mateer and his offensive coordinator worked together versus Bryce Underwood and Chip Lindsey on the Michigan side, where there was absolutely no continuity, no flexibility. Everything was so predictable. So when you hear a lot of fans, and what you're going to hear a lot of from the Michigan fan base is, oh, the play calling stunk, and we need this, and we need to get rid of Sharon Moore, we need to this, we need to that. All that stuff is so unnecessary, and it's not going to be something that you would be happy with. What you need to understand is that a lot of what we want as fans is going to take a little bit of time, which is why you should be thankful at the fact that we got such a really, really difficult test early, because this film, when Bryce Underwood goes back and looks at this film, when Chip Lindsey goes back and looks at this film, when Sharon Moore goes back and looks at this film, there's going to be you measured up against one of the best. Again, Brent Venables is one of the best defensive coordinators that the college football world has ever seen. And for you to put film out there that you can study and see where you went wrong, what the mistakes were, what you need to be doing as an offense. And then on top of that, knowing that you were still in the game, as bad as you played, you were still in the game going into the fourth quarter. That is a very, very encouraging thought. But you got to look at it the right way. And as a business, you're going to have nights like the night Michigan had last night, right? You're going to have days where you're not hitting your sales. You're going to have days where you're making calls that, just nothing's clicking. People aren't, buying this, and they're not doing this. And, you're getting this staff member who's doing this, and you're getting a problem in your services. People don't like this. It's just going to be that rough at the time. However, if you can figure out a way to learn from it, track it. Again, one of the reasons that what we do here is about establishing measurables. If you are able to track this the same way that you can track it in the football world where this is on film, then something starts to become you can take a lesson from it, you can learn from it. All right, that is what you have to take away from this, because what I witnessed was I saw a great, again, we all know what Brent Venables, and just so we're clear now, Brent Venables has not had the best tenure so far since he's been the head coach at Oklahoma. Right? He's had a very, very tough time being Oklahoma head coach. It hasn't been an easy time for him. And one of the reasons is because he comes from the defensive mindset. He has the defensive background. He's the defensive coordinator at Clemson for all those years, and he did a great job. So when he's able to bring in or when John Mateer and the OC, the name is slipping right now, but the offensive coordinator basically came with the quarterback, and they had already a built-in solid system that it took what Brett Venables is great at. It took what John Mateer is great at, and it was able to collide. These are the things that you have to do as a business owner. You have to take a page out of Brett Venables' book and say, hey, I know my strengths. I know I'm a great defensive coordinator. I know I'm the guy that coordinated all these Clemson, these Clemson national championship teams. He knows what he's great at. So he's able to delegate, right? He's able to delegate to people who are able to do other great things. And you see a completely different Oklahoma team, right? Defensively, they were all over the field and they were confusing Bryce Underwood. And this is why, again, I think it's going to be good for him to go back, learn what he needs to learn, look at the film and say, all right, look, I got to get better. I got to get better doing this. I mean, he missed several throws, and it's so easy to throw everything on the offensive line and the O-line didn't do this and the O-line wasn't great. I ain't gonna lie to you, the O-line was not great. Weren't breaking a lot of holes, but at the same time the O-line was dealing with a defense that was putting 9-10 guys in the box and safeties screaming down and it was just absolutely killing. And then we just coming downhill, stopping the run. And also when it comes to Bryce Underwood, the playbook wasn't open up from jump. Like when I say the playbook, I mean not necessarily the play calling, just the formations and being able to do a lot more things and maybe spread them out a little bit and just give them different looks and get certain balls out there. He wasn't able to do a lot of those things because a lot of that he's not ready for. It's not because they're bad coaches. It's just because he, as a true freshman, is not ready to get installed with too much. We needed, and I said it the day before, I said it the morning before, that we needed to make sure our run game is where it needed to be. And if possible, we need to get Bryce more involved in the ground game, the same way John Mateer was involved in the ground game for Oklahoma. These things are going to come with time, and you need ass kickings like the one you got last night for you to really figure out, okay, look, we're not where we need to be. Let's learn from it because we're competing against the best. That's what you got to take away. And as a business owner, this lesson, I'll close you out just with this concept, is the lesson that you got to kind of extract from everything is, number one, every dog has its day. Everybody has their year. Everybody has their guy. Everybody has their time. The ones that are consistently competing, what you saw last night was a team in Michigan that was overmatched. All right, they were nowhere near as just in depth in terms of, they were nowhere near what the Sooners were in terms of continuity, in terms of player personnel, in terms of what they were able to throw at them. But they continue to fight, and they continue to fight. They continue to just keep playing. You as a business owner, you have to start to thrive off competition. You have to start to look for folks that are better than you are, doing some of the similar things, and learn from them, because that's how you give yourself a chance. But if you're that business owner, if you're that person that's just not trying to compete with anybody, just staying in the background, want to be Mr. Nice Guy, want to be the person just kind of, not really engaging in competition, always trying to stroke people and not make people better, then your organization won't have the opportunity to grow and develop. What we saw last night was a young person who's going to grow and develop from something because he wanted to go out and compete against the best. That's what's going to happen, all right? I believe personally, I don't know if he's confirmed this or said this publicly, but I personally believe that Bryce Underwood decided he was going to flip LSU and come to Michigan because he knew he was going to start right away. He knew he was going to be the guy to fix an offense that was atrocious last year. And if he went to LSU, he probably would have had to stay behind. I think it's Brett Messinger. I think Brett Messinger, I think it is, for LSU. Whoever, he's in the Heisman conversation now, but most likely he would have had to stay behind that guy and never know when he was going to play. So this is what he asked for. This is, what you're going to get when you do decide to go to a place like Michigan. And hey, there's going to be some times where you have some lessons to learn. Business owners, take away from it, and as we get going on Final Whistle Sunday, these will be a whole lot more organized. This was my first one, and it was a late game last night, so I didn't believe I went to actually watch the game with a group of Michigan fans that I met out here in South Florida. So the game didn't end until close to midnight, and then I woke up really, really early and ran and all that kind of stuff. So there was a lot of thoughts and a lot of things I was collecting. So I'm kind of running on you. It won't normally be like this. It'll be a little more organized as we go along here. I just want to get this first one off. And again, because I have to practice what I preach, right? Just like Michigan have to get that first one off and go out in the road test, see what you got. That's gonna have to get this first final whistle Sunday off, so I can go back, look at the film, see how it can improve, see how I can get more organized. All of the stuff we do here is we practice and what we preach, and I implore you, I encourage you as a business owner to do the exact same thing. Whatever the thing is, whatever the competition is, whatever it is you need to be doing to get yourself in a situation where you're competing against the best and you're learning how to compete, you're learning how to get better, you're learning where your products need to go, you're learning what services you need to offer, you're learning how to develop more clients, you're learning how to do that by getting out there and getting uncomfortable. Do it. Just go and damn do it. Just go and do it so you can learn a lesson from it. So all that being said, you guys see the hat I got on today. Happy first NFL Sunday week. My NFL team is the Washington Commanders, and look forward to watching them kick the Giants' ass to start off the season today. Then not only that, but then we also got a Thursday night game. I believe we play the Packers on Amazon Prime 2 this Thursday. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of football to be talked about on this channel. All that being said, main website to check out to dive deeper into everything I do, everything employee development that I got mentioned earlier. It is makeyourmove.com. That is MakeYaMove.com. One-stop shop for all your teamwork and your self-development needs. As one Crookshank, your one and only Move Swiftly speaker. Check it out. You guys continue to move swiftly. We will talk more soon.